Speaking of criticism where criticism is not due in our opening tip, Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first pick of the draft. How about this? Minus 20,000 right now. This is how serious. I mean, the odds makers won't even put anything on there. Fernando Mendoza minus, you want to bet minus 20,000 that he will be the first pick. Then it gets really interesting. New York Jets minus 260 for Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. David Bailey out of Texas Tech at plus 180. Third pick is Arizona. Could be David Bailey. Could be Jeremiah Love. Could be Arvell Reese. Tennessee 4. A lot of people think they like Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. David Bailey, Sonny Styles getting odds there. Then the Giants are on the board at 5. Then Cleveland. And so again, we've talked about it. It's an uncertain draft. Even Vegas, they have no clue outside of Fernando Mendoza. But I will say this. Here's what we know about Fernando Mendoza, Jack. He will not be in Pittsburgh. He's not coming. He's, and people have said, well, come on, you're going to be the first pick. You need to be there. Why aren't you going to be there? Well, here's Fernando Mendoza, as diplomatic as he always is, explaining why he will not be there. And by the way, Jack, it'll be the second straight first overall pick not at the location. Cam Ward was not there last year for the Tennessee Titans, if memory serves. But Fernando Mendoza will not be there, and it's family-related.
Pittsburgh is a great opportunity, and it's a great venue. And I'm really excited to see all the guys, or most of the guys, walk across the stage on Thursday night. It's be a dream for a lot of guys. However, my mom really wanted to do it at home, and so do my parents. It's a lot easier for us, especially with the family situation. Mm-hmm. And you have to hop on a plane the next morning anyways. And for that travel, it'd be a lot easier to stay at home. All
right, so there you go. Now, remember, his mom, we saw through the Heisman and the national championship, has MS. She's in a wheelchair. You can understand that. She doesn't want to go to, Pittsburgh and
get in the auditorium.
Yeah, and he's a big family guy, obviously. Good for him. So, yeah, give the guy a break. He's good. But there are those, of course, in this day and age criticizing him for not being there. He's going to be the face of the Raiders. I think it's a great pick. I think he's going to be a good player. And then after that, the confusion, the concern comes. Who's going to go next becomes the deal. And here, look, the draft overview is this. We've told you for weeks now. But now maybe you're dialing in because it's 2 days away. This draft is terribly weak if you're in the market for a quarterback after Mendoza. It's also, a rare thin year for elite left tackles. A lot of concern about who the top tackles are, which is a premium position. Wide receivers. There's, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, who's the best corner receiver. And at tight end, Jack, there is no Brock Bowers or Colston Loveland at the top this year. I guess Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon would be the best. But where does he go? I've seen him anywhere middle of the first round all the way into the second round. No slam dunk at tight end. And also, if you're looking for immediate help at cornerback and edge rusher, there's mixed opinions there too. Now, both of those positions, edge and corner, are deep with good players, but those immediate plug-and-play type guys, you're not sure. So it's a weird draft that way. But if you're in the market for a linebacker or a safety or a running back, interior O-lineman, this is a strong year for you. But you know what position is the weakest by all accounts, Jack, across the board? You talk to all 32 teams. There's one thing that's agreement. Fernando Mendoza will go 1. And the weakest position in this draft is defensive tackle. Defensive tackle. Consider this. Last year, 5 defensive tackles, big guys, went off the board in the first 21 picks, including number 5 overall Mason Graham out of Michigan to Cleveland. The first tackle, the Houston Texans at 28 might be in play for the top tackle this year. Think about that. That's Caden McDonald from Ohio State. They're all from Ohio State this year. But Ohio State's Caden McDonald. He may be in play as late as, because there were 5 in the first 21 picks last year. Caden McDonald might be available for Houston at 28. Caleb Banks, Florida, is the next guy. So a very thin. How about this? This is Bruce Feldman wrote a column at theathletic.com this week, Jack, that says he has a quote from a defensive line coach in the NFL that says, this is the worst D tackle group in 10 years. It's horrible. It's horrible, he said. So
not a lot of names, are there?
But that would come in for the Texans. If the Texans don't trade up, they're at 28. Houston's one of the better 5 teams in the league. They're sitting way back there at 28. If they don't trade up to the middle of the first round to go after one of those really elite interior O-linemen, which I think they could do because they have a lot of draft capital, if they sit at 28, they could, if you got the top tackle and tackle's a position of need for you, take them. And because this draft is deep at interior offensive line. The elite guy from Penn State, you're going to have to go up to the middle of the first round to get him because Tampa Bay or Baltimore will probably get him, or the Jets in the middle of the first round. But same time, Houston could sit there and get the number 1 tackle on the board, which, Caden McDonald out of Ohio State would be a good one. If they're all gone, you could almost see Houston trading out. I would say this, Jack. I think I'm pretty solid. Houston will either trade up to solidify the interior of their offensive line, because they feel pretty good at tackle, or they will trade back, which they've done each of the last 2 years. They'll trade out of the first round. Somebody that wants to trade up from the early second to come up to get a quarterback, maybe a Ty Simpson. Houston could be that team again. They were the team last year for the Giants and Jackson Dart, who came back in and got their quarterback of the future. So keep an eye on that. But here's your deep dive, Jack. Do we have our NFL draft, ring-a-ling? Deep dive. We'll do this throughout the morning and get a little deeper. But best drafting teams in the first round the past 5 years. So I've identified 3 or 4 that I give A's to A-minuses. First round. There's only first round, Jack. Baltimore Ravens. Not a surprise, right? They draft well. They've got Malachi Starks, Nate Wiggins, Zay Flowers, Kyle Hamilton's an all-pro. Tyler Lindenbaum was an all-pro. He went to the Raiders in free agency. They draft too good. They seem to hit. Baltimore's really good. You know who else gets an A from me? Your Dallas Cowboys. Tyler Booker, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Micah Parsons. Of the last 5 first-round picks, the Cowboys have hit on all of them except for Mozzie Smith.
That's right.
Mozzie was a bust, but you go 4 out of 5, I'm going to give you an A. A-minus. That's solid. You've rebuilt your O-line on the fly with Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Booker. Guyton still has a ways to prove, but I think he's going to be a good player. They knew he was raw when they drafted him. And then Micah Parsons, you just screwed that up with the contract negotiation. You should have done what the Texans did with Will Anderson and just keep your premier pass rusher in his prime, but that's Jerry Jones for you. But they draft really well, and that's why you feel good about the Cowboys having these 2 picks. And their judgment has been solid. So if they go up to 6 with Cleveland, I think it's a solid move. They have shown with Will McClay the ability to evaluate the draft board, where value is over the last 5 years. And even before that, by the way. You go all the way back to Zach Martin in 2016 when Will McClay took over their draft room. They've been good. Also, right down the road in Houston, I'll give you an A. Houston has an A-minus. With C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, Derek Stingley all being cornerstone players. The one miss was Kenyon Green, the kind of like Mozzie Smith. He's their Mozzie Smith. But in that same draft, they took Derek Stingley, who's the best corner in the game.
Some of these NFL draft picks, you really see how GMs get fired. Because, like, Kenyon Green.
Everybody liked him.
How does a 2-time All-American at guard just, suck all of the – he was at no point was good.
Yeah, injuries.
Never showed flashes. Never showed anything.
Injuries derailed him.
2-time All-American.
Well, same for Mozzie Smith.
I know it.
You do all your evaluations. Again, they're human beings. You just don't know. And so, but if you go 4 out of 5, I'll give it to you. Even Houston, when they've dropped into the early second round, Kamari Lassiter's an all-pro at corner opposite Derek Stingley. They got him at pick 40. Jaden Higgins, they traded back their number 2 wide receiver now opposite Nico Collins. So Houston gets an A-minus. Other really solid drafting teams last 5 years, the Saints, very good. That's one of their rebuild is you like the Saints, Jack, as a rising team. Tyler Shuck last year, they've drafted well. The Chargers in L.A. have drafted well, and the Jets have drafted well, but then they've just traded all the good players.
Yeah, Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner.
Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams. They've drafted good players. They just trade them. Not sure why, but that's why they're drafting number 2 overall again this year. And guess what? They'll probably draft a good player with Arvell Reese or David Bailey. But the 3 best franchises in the first round the last 5 years, Jack, not going to surprise you. There are 3 that get A-pluses. 3 that get A-pluses. The Philadelphia Eagles get an A-plus. Give me the draft sounder. The Philadelphia Eagles, this is pretty significant. Howie Roseman's, we come in every Monday after the draft, synonymous saying, Howie Roseman killed it again. How about this? In the last 5 years, every player he's selected since 2021 in the first round has become at minimum a significant contributor in Philadelphia. 6 players have been selected that they've taken 6 guys. They had 2 picks one year. 6 players have provided 225 starts, 3 Pro Bowls, and they've gone to 2 Super Bowls and won one of them. 5 straight playoff appearances. That comes through Howie Roseman's ability to draft early and not miss on these first-round picks. And if you're asking who we talking about, you're talking about Quinyon Mitchell, all-pro corner, Jalen Carter, all-pro defensive tackle, Nolan Smith, the pass rusher, Jordan Davis, Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner, Jihad Campbell was their pick last year. He became their starting linebacker. So, gosh, Howie Roseman knows what he's doing. Also, A-plus for the Detroit Lions. Lions fans are going to regret not taking advantage of the window when they had the lead in the NFC Championship game a couple years ago because they've drafted at an elite level. You realize since 2021, Brad Holmes and the Lions, Jack, the floor for Detroit's first-round picks is quality starters. The ceiling is first-team All-Pro. Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell, Jahmyr Gibbs, the linebacker Jack Campbell are all franchise cornerstones. all taken in the first round. And the final A+, not going to surprise you, they just hoisted the Lombardi Trophy, the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks with, the Seahawks' path to a Super Bowl was paved. Yeah, you can say Sam Darnold and picking him up. But the group of first-rounders, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Devon Witherspoon, the PFF's number 1 graded cornerback last season. The former Longhorn, Byron Murphy, had 7 sacks last year. He was the 16th pick of a draft in the first round. And then 2 significant pieces on their offensive line were first-round picks. That's an A+. So those 3 teams have led the pack, and they're all in the NFC, and they all are going to be good again this year.
That's right.
And then the worst, the Browns, of course. Houston had most of their picks for the Deshaun Watson trade the last 5 years. Mason Graham is the only player that stands out that they've drafted. Everything else, they hadn't had a pick. It's been really bad, Pittsburgh. You look at their drafts, Kenny Pickett, Najee Harris, a couple of old linemen who are good, not great.
Yeah, first 2 guys you mentioned aren't on the team anymore.
Right. And then the Minnesota Vikings. Their picks are lousy in the first round. Again, some of these teams come back and do well later, but they're lousy. J.J. McCarthy might be the biggest with the 10th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
That needs to pan out for them, but they've already gone and gotten Kyler Murray. So Minnesota getting a C, D- for me. And then this will surprise you. In the first round, the San Francisco 49ers.
They've had some funky ones.
Trey Lance, Ricky Pearsall, Mykel Williams, and then last year they took Alfred Collins, the Longhorn.
He's a second rounder, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Mykel Williams was their pick last year. But they've done pretty well in the later rounds, finding good players with John Lynch and company.
Their secret.
But if you're just going on the first round, they have not drafted well. Where Howie Roseman, Seattle, the Lions, Houston, Dallas, they've all usually killed it in these spots. And that's why they're good. Jerry then screws around with them when they get on the team and won't get them new contracts typically. But, yeah, those are your best. Just for overview, those are the teams that do really well. Pittsburgh's been pretty bad.
Looking back at it, the 2024 receiver class has aged really weird.
Interesting.
And that was I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. has panned out like people thought. Then you had that run at the end of the first round into the second round with Ricky Pearsall and Keon Coleman. And
yeah, you're right.
It got weird.
Yeah, this year's draft not seen as great with Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson at the top at wide receiver. I do like the sleeper for me in that spot is Malachi Lemon from USC playing for Lincoln Riley. That guy's he's like a running back in the open field, and he's so raw. That's the thing about a lot of these young prospects. They're raw. So that's where people are looking for plug-and-play immediate help. It's going to be tough outside of the top 6-8 picks of this draft.